Hello. Forgot to add my mic to this one. See if I can even. Anything? Hello? Hello. Forgot to add my mic. All right, everybody. I'm not gonna keep y'all waiting any longer. Let's go ahead and jump straight into things. I've been. Hold on. Let me go back. I'm not ready. I thought I was ready, guys, but then I realized I'm not. Wonder how you guys' day is going to this point. Hope you guys have had a good one. If it hasn't been great, well then keep your head up, keep your head high, because eventually you guys will get to the other side of whatever's going on in today and whatever's going on tonight. I promise you, if you guys keep your head up, keep a positive attitude, that you guys will succeed no matter what you do in life, and you guys will forever and always have a place in my heart. I'm praying for every single one of you guys. And with all that being said, let's jump straight into today's podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Unscripted Podcast. My name is Terrell Williams, and joining me today is absolutely nobody, because once again, I am doing the podcast by myself. I've made the executive decision to switch from my side channel to my main channel, so you guys will be seeing all my podcasts on my Rel officially channel from now on. The Unscripted Pod is brought to you by nobody who whatsoever, just a random guy in his room deciding that, hey, I want to talk about sports since I can't do them anymore. So let's go ahead and get to the first thing on today's slate, which is the waiver wire. Now, today's pod will contain opening statements discovering... Wait, time out. Not discovering. I don't know why I said discovering. We're not discovering anything. We already know what this is. My first time reading off the script. My fault, y'all. But like I was saying, so today's pod opening statements will cover fantasy leagues. Whether your team kick six or pick six, we have some great fantasy advice for everyone prior to week one with the waiver wire. Now, for week one's waiver wire, I've decided that I have a couple of players that I wanted to go ahead and list. Some hot takes, some not. And if you guys feel like I'm wrong in any of these cases, just go ahead and debate me down in the comment section. But I'm pretty sure that most of you guys will agree with some of my choices. So for week one, starting, we have Nick Chubb versus the Rams. I know the lead back for the Texans is Joe Mixon, but as you all know, Joe Mixon is out with that knee injury. Or whatever. I think it's knee, shoulder, one of the two. But he's fighting that injury, and until he comes back, it looks like Nick Chubb will be the starter. He's been having a very good camp so far to this point. So I'm assuming that he'll be given the nod to be the starter, seeing as he was All-Pro back with the Browns. I could definitely see him having a great game against the Rams week one, and potentially even carrying that over into week two. So for stardom, we got Nick Chubb. For benchdom, we have Spencer Rattler versus the Cardinals. Now, I would have had him at drop him, but there was somebody else I wanted to put there instead because I don't think anybody picked up Spencer Rattler, but if they did, I would say bench him. I don't think he's going to be very productive this week. And that's not saying that I don't think he'll play good. I just don't think he'll convert on a high percentage of his throws against the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't have a very great defense, but the Saints don't have a very good QB room, and they don't have a very good offense. So Spencer Rattler benched versus the Cardinals. Now, for Stasham, we have Najee Harris on the Chargers. Now, he was moved to the active roster just recently. It looks like he may be wrapping up to start week one with that undisclosed eye injury. But he was a nice little fantasy steal that I was able to grab a couple weeks ago after I found out he'd be slated to come back for week one. But Najee Harris is a good one to grab and stash. If you guys haven't already picked him up, I would do so immediately because if you haven't, somebody else definitely will. And for drop him, we have Shedeur Sanders. Now, I know a lot of people out there have drafted Shedeur Sanders on their fantasy team. I'm one of those people. I did draft him, but I also had another fantasy team where I didn't draft Shedeur Sanders. So if you guys did draft Shedeur Sanders, I would consider dropping him because he probably won't play this year. And if he does, it'll be on the back half of the season. So I would make sure that if you guys did draft Shedeur Sanders, that you wait until later on or try to trade him. I doubt you'll be able to trade him for anything because, like I said, he won't play. So I don't think anyone will pick him up. But if he does become available later down the road, like if he does become the starter, then I would assume that you guys would want to pick him back up ASAP because he will put up points. Next in the news, we have Kenny Pickett, Browns QB, getting traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 5th-round pick. Now, if you guys paid attention to the news before the season, you saw that Kenny Pickett was traded to the Browns for a 5th-round pick and DTR. So the Browns basically had just a swap. They traded they traded DTR for Kenny Pickett. In the sense of the word. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be better than DTR, but he never actually played a single down for the Browns. He never actually even played a single down in preseason football for the Browns. And it was a pretty odd training camp. Kevin Stefanski was saying how we were supposed to have a 4-way QB competition, but from the jump, it was already kind of messed up with that hamstring injury that he suffered. And then Dylan Gabriel suffered a hamstring injury. And then Shedeur Sanders hurt his oblique. So it put us in this weird situation where we didn't have the QBs to be on the field for this competition. And Kenny Pickett was one of the big ones because he was supposed to be slated to be a starter, but because he couldn't get on the field, Joe Flacco just happened to take the starting QB role. Because, to be honest, Kevin Stefanski had no intention of starting Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, but he just had to make sure that he showed good press and good faith. And Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both showed him things that made him feel comfortable enough that he could move forward without Kenny Pickett on the roster as a security blanket. So the rookies, if you look at it from that perspective, then that means the rookies are a lot farther ahead than they originally said. And that's a great thing for the Browns because Lord knows they need to find a QB. So I don't care if they got one QB or 18, but somebody has to play the QB for that team. And right now, it's Joe Cool. So we're entering the third segment of the show. I'm trying to keep it nice, short, sweet, get y'all up out of here as soon as possible. We got Boom or Bust. This is a new category. This is NFL week. The NFL opening week kickoff is upon us very soon. So to prepare, we have some projections for who I can't speak. So NFL week 1 is upon us very soon. So I have some projections of players who I think will boom and bust for week 1. For week 1, in the boom category, we have Michael Penix Jr. versus Tampa Bay. We all saw what Michael Penix was last year. He's a splash player. He's also a player that has a lot of attitude. We saw that during the joint practices. But I think Michael Penix will definitely take a step up this year. He didn't play a whole lot last year, but he was already one of the older QBs in that draft. Kind of like a Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Show, Tyler Shuck for this draft. So I feel like when it comes to being able to make timely plays and be able to convert on third downs, Michael Penix will be able to move the ball down the field against Tampa Bay's defense, and I feel like he'll have a really great game and probably emerge as one of the top 15 best QBs in the NFL potentially. Bust, we have Kyron Williams versus Houston. I'm not saying that Kyron Williams isn't a good back. I just don't believe that versus Houston will have a great outing. Houston has some pretty big hitters up there on that defensive line, so I'm pretty sure they'll be able to stuff the line. And even if he does manage to get a decent amount of rushing yards, I could see it being very tough for him to get into the end zone. They have a very good defensive line, and they have great linebackers too. I don't see Kyron having a great game against Houston. I see him having somewhere between 50 to 79 yards and a touchdown, and maybe like 30 receiving yards. So I guess I don't know if that would necessarily be maybe a bust, but I projected so much. I could project so much more for him, and I just don't see him actually hitting those totals. So that's why I have him in the bust category. Moving on, we have Baker Mayfield in the boom category versus Atlanta. I feel like Baker Mayfield will have a great showing versus ATL. And the reason why I say that is because Baker Mayfield, if you've seen him play before, he's really explosive. He's also kind of, how do I say this? He's not flashy in the sense that he makes the splash plays. What I mean is he's inconsistent. He's very inconsistent with the way he plays. He'll have a really great game, and then he may have a subpar game. But I feel like it's ATL. He's starting out week 1 against Atlanta. He's going to come out the gate swinging. It's Baker Mayfield. I'm putting him in the boom category. If you guys are starting him for week 1, I would definitely consider it because he's going to put up points. Plus, he has Mike Evans back, so I'm almost certain he's going to put up points. Bust, we have Tate McMillan versus Jacksonville. Now, Tate McMillan is a rookie, and he's also on the same team as Xavier Legette. They both play the same position at wide receiver. There's only one football to go around. Bryce Young also has other targets as well. So I feel as though even if Tate McMillan were to get a decent amount of targets, it'd still be pretty tough for him to make a huge impact against Jacksonville, especially since they have a pretty decent defense. I just predict a tough outing for Tate McMillan. Plus, I got to shake it up. I throw a little rookie in there because don't nobody really expect none from the rookies yet. So I'm just going to throw him in there in the bust category. But if he goes off and pulls a Puka Nakua on me, you guys can come back in the comments and harass me all you want because at that point, I was wrong and you guys were right. Or maybe we were both wrong. But I predict Tate McMillan to be a bust for week 1. Next for boom, we have Nick Chubb versus the Rams. I said this earlier. I expect Nick Chubb to have a great week 1, because once again, Nick Chubb never fell off as a running back. That's why I thought it was ridiculous the Browns let him walk, seeing as he never really fell off. He just had a really bad injury, and he recovered from it. And I feel like he's going to let the whole league know. He's going to put everybody on notice this weekend. Or not this weekend, but next weekend. In the final category for bust, we have Spencer Rattler versus the Cardinals. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Spencer Rattler just doesn't shout franchise QB to me. He doesn't shout starting QB to me. He shouts like a backup. He's like a Patrick Mahomes clone without Patrick Mahomes. So when you take away Wood from Wood, what do you have? Nothing. 2 minus 2, you get stuck with 0. So I just don't see Spencer Rattler being able to last in that starting QB role. I expect Tyler Shuck to take over at some point during this season for Spencer Rattler. I just don't expect him to stay in that starting QB spot all season. He didn't show us enough last year when he played to show that he could be a franchise QB. That's why they went out and drafted Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck didn't show enough to show that he was ready to be the starting QB week 1, so that's why Spencer Rattler got the nod. But I don't believe he'll stay in that position all season, nor do I believe he'll be their future franchise QB. And I assume that they'll be back in the draft in a couple years from now for another QB if Tyler Shuck shows that he is incapable of leading the Saints, which I'm not saying he isn't capable, but I don't believe in him. Next segment of the show, since I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and you guys all know this, I dedicate a portion of each show to the Cleveland Browns and discussing current topics with the team. So join me in today's episode of Browns Block. So we already discussed the Kenny Pickett news, so let me paint the picture for you guys so you guys see the rest of the Browns season. I think Joe Flacco will get about 6 games max to prove that, he still has it and the wheels haven't fallen off. But I think by the end of that 6th game, you have to bench him for one of the rookies. You got to see what these young guys got, because one of them could potentially be the future of the franchise. You do them both a huge disservice if you just set them on the bench all season. A huge disservice. Because you didn't allow Sanders to get the same opportunities that Gabriel got.
and you didn't let Gabriel go run with the ones during the preseason game. So I feel like you do them both a disservice if you just kept them on the bench all season, or if you just threw them to the wolves and said, "Here, have at it." I mean, I feel like you have to prepare them for this type of switch, because playing with twos and threes and fours is different from running with the ones. It's a lot faster. The game speed is picked up. They're sending coded blitzes. They have backs look like they're stunting one way and they fake and drop 5 yards out in the coverage, or we think they're playing man, they stop and then they drop deep, and next thing you know they're playing zone. So if you're gonna trade Pickett like you did, you have to play one of the rookies. There's no way around it. So Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, if you're gonna do this move, and you already did it, you went ahead and traded Kenny Pickett. You have to play at least one of these rookies this year, Shador Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. Both of them, I don't care, but you have to show that at least one of them could potentially be your future franchise QB. Otherwise, the season is a wash. It's pointless. Even if you go to the playoffs, what's the point? You're gonna be back in the draft next year, looking for a QB to take you to the playoffs next year. Joe Flacco already said this is his last season. So even if he does bring you guys to the playoffs, he's not coming back. You have to have a plan behind Joe Flacco. You have to. So that's why I think they need to play the rookies at some point this year. Because if they don't, they're doing themselves a disservice. And we know Deshaun Watson's looming. He never left. He's still in the building. And we got to deal with that contract coming up in a few. I think next year we can deal with this contract and maybe get it off the books. I don't want to see him play another game for the Browns. If Deshaun Watson never plays another game for the Browns again, then you will never see another segment of Browns block from me. Because I do not want to see him play another game for the Cleveland Browns. But in other news related to the Browns, I just found out that Dustin Hopkins got released. And am I happy? I could scream, I could shout. Because I'm so sick of Dustin Hopkins. The thing about him, and the reason why I couldn't put up with him anymore, is because he just kept missing the easy kicks. Like, obviously you're going to miss like the 61-yarders, the 59-yarders, the 58-yarders every so often, because they're just really far out there. Even the 50-yarders, they're not a given. But the 38-yard chip shots, the 25, the small kicks, 30-yard field goals, the chip shots, you can't miss those. You have to be perfect. As a kicker, you have one job on the team, and that's to make the kicks. And if you can't do that, they'll find somebody to replace you. There's thousands of people out there that can kick a football. They will find somebody to replace you. And that's exactly what the Browns did. The rookie Andre Schmidt, I believe what his name is, took Dustin Hopkins' place as the kicker for this team. And he'll be on the Browns 53-man roster, and he'll get to start week 1. I'm excited because I want to see what the rookie got. He's got a decent leg, but I just don't want it to be another situation like it was with our last rookie kicker. I forgot what his name was, but he was really good. He could kick a ball. Like he had a leg on him. But the problem was he just was so inaccurate. But he could make a 68-yard field goal, but then he would miss a 32-yard field goal. That's the problem. That's why we couldn't keep him on the roster. I wish we would have kept him and just developed him. But obviously, we ended up going down the path we did with Dustin Hopkins, and we thought that Dustin Hopkins was the answer. It turns out he was not the answer. So now, Andre Schmidt, you're up. We're going to see what you got. We're going to see what you got. And I hope that you're ready to play, because we're going to need you. We're going to need you. Next, and the final segment of the show, the Claw. The Claw Wrestling draft took place a long time ago, about a couple months ago. I think, actually, let me not say it took a long time ago. It didn't take place a long time ago. But I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but the future of pro wrestling is upon us. The Claw Wrestling League is set to debut in October. Wrestling's new professional dual meet league, modified rules, increased action and scoring, elite wrestlers on 6 different teams, the Claw. Honestly, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they got. I can't wait to see what they got cooking. We got Caden Henshaw as a GM. He was a Division II wrestler for Wisconsin Parkside. Angelo Ferrari, he's a GM, and he's wrestling at the University of Iowa, I believe. There's a bunch of high-level wrestlers in this league and a bunch of high-level athletes, and just I know it's going to be a great competitive environment. They even have a fantasy league coming up that they're going to announce pretty soon for the Claw, so I'm pretty excited for that. I know that you guys probably don't care about wrestling, but I do, so that's why I wanted to talk about it. And even if you guys don't want to hear anything about the Claw, I will be covering it. So if you guys don't want to watch these segments of the show, you don't have to, but I will be cutting them up and I will be releasing them on the channel as well. But just to let you guys know, the Claw will be covered on this YouTube channel. So if you guys want to discuss any topics surrounding the Claw, just leave them in the comment section, and I'll hit them, and we can talk about it, and we can really dive into the nitty gritty. But that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to keep it as short and sweet as possible tonight because there wasn't really that much news, and I don't really have somebody to debate or talk with. If I had somebody here with me, or if I had an audience to engage with, it'd make it so much easier to talk for an hour straight. I could do that. But because there's nobody in here, and because there's nobody in the chat right now, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, chop these clips up, post them later on, and let you guys see them like that as well. But I just want to let you guys know I'm thankful that you guys are here right now supporting the channel, supporting me. And if you guys aren't, well, then you're going to be, because I'm telling you, we're on the takeover. 2026 is coming. It's happening. But thank y'all for tuning in. We got new topics for y'all tomorrow, new topics for y'all the next week, new topics for y'all whenever, man. We back on this. It took a minute to get back on my grind, but I'm here and I'm ready and I'm about to go crazy in this new podcast thing I got going on. Welcome to Unscripted, y'all. Once again, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.